Episode 1, Fingerprints on the Sacred. Who really wrote our holy texts? I grew up inside a house of prayer. My family knelt, sang and confessed. I was taught to believe without question. One of my great uncles was a high-ranking Catholic priest, and his presence made the faith feel absolute. For years I trusted every word, but as I began to read on my own, the pages themselves began to speak, and what they said was not what I had been told. Fingerprints appeared, edits, translations, hidden codes, and political choices. This series is not an attack on believers. It is an invitation to see the human story behind the sacred story. When you line the texts up side by side, an uncomfortable pattern emerges. Long before the 10 Commandments were chiseled into stone, Egyptian scribes wrote the 42 Confessions of Ma'at, and Babylonian rulers inscribed Hammurabi's code. Laws about murder, theft, adultery, and honoring parents were not new revelations, but established social rules, repackaged to look divine. Seeing this is not blasphemy, it is history. Each generation inherits older stories, edits them, and calls the result eternal. Even a single translation can turn entire religions. In Hebrew, the word alma simply means young woman. In the Greek Septuagint, it was rendered as parthenos, virgin. That one shift created a prophecy of a virgin birth, and it became a pillar of Christian doctrine. The text didn't descend from heaven that way. A translator chose it. What else was chosen? The texts also hide their own secret channels. In the book of Jeremiah, Shishak is a code for Babylon, created with a simple cipher called Atbash. Swap the first Hebrew letter for the last and the second for the second to last, and so on. Why encrypt at all unless messages were dangerous? Once you know how to look, you can find layers of concealment inside the very pages you were taught to treat as transparent truths. These are not isolated quirks. Councils decided which gospels were canonical and which were heresy. Scribes harmonized conflicting stories. Monarchs and bishops sponsored authorized translations. Masonic and royal editions contain marginalia and symbols hinting at meanings not meant for the public. What most of us receive on Sunday mornings is the residue of centuries of editorial power, a story shaped to command loyalty and obedience. I understand the comfort religion can offer. I've seen communities lift each other up, feed the hungry, and give meanings to suffering. But I've also seen how these same texts and rituals are used to divide, frighten, and control, how fear of damnation, claims of exclusive truth, and promises of reward in the afterlife can turn neighbor against neighbor. That is why I'm doing this work. Not to mock faith, but to free it from the machinery that exploits it. This episode begins a careful reading of what we were told it was untouchable. We will trace the fingerprints, show the edits, decode the ciphers, and compare the originals. We will not rely on rumors or internet memes, but on the texts themselves. You don't have to agree with every conclusion. All I ask, that you look with me. The evidence is there, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. If sacred stories were built by human hands, then we have the right and perhaps the duty to examine them, to know who wrote them, who changed them, and why. Only then can belief be a choice rather than an inheritance, and only then can we stop being weaponized against each other. That is where our journey begins.